is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. This is your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio, presented by JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Access, Level 10 Coatings, Steiner Homes, Center Guard Plumbing, and by American Beam and Steel. With your host, Roger Piper.
Your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio.
Hi, welcome to Home Answers. I'm Roger Piper. The show's all about your home. Today we're going to talk about the structure of your home. American Beam and Steel. We got Mark Hopman. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you again, Roger.
All right. We're talking about the structure of the home, the foundation, things like that. And it's real important to know, especially if you're looking at doing renovations, or maybe you're looking at selling your home and you're going to have an inspection and you got old beams and things like that. Mark, tell us a little bit. Your company is great. You've been in business for quite a while, and it's really specialized. But tell us, how did you get into this? Give us a little background on you personally and the company.
Oh, thank you. That's a great. I like to go over my history a little bit. I studied engineering at U of I downstate back in the early '80s, and I realized I wasn't an indoor guy. So I had already been working as an apprentice carpenter at the time, and I decided to do carpentry full time. And I worked for a general contractor for about 7 years, just framing new homes. My background in engineering worked really well. It became very easy for me to be a carpenter. I really enjoyed being outside. I framed homes for years, and up to the biggest house I built, I think it was 26,000 square feet. Went on from there, and I did a lot of major renovations on older homes. I did a lot of work in LaGrange, where we did significant additions on beautiful older homes. Mm-hmm. The advantage is I got to see homes that were built like in the 1860s, 1880s, 1920s.
Yeah.
And I saw the methods of construction change decade by decade. I've worked in every age of home you could imagine from the 1850s onward. And to see the technologies change, to see the introduction of what difference did electricity make in building homes. So I got to appreciate all that. I was also taught, my first boss in carpentry, my first foreman was a third generation, very old man. He was about 67 at the time. And I learned from a third-generation carpenter who had worked as a carpenter since before they used electricity on the job.
Holy cow.
So I was taught by a real veteran. So I did that for years. I did remodeling for years. And I'd say 11 or 12 years ago, I started just specializing in structural repair and lifting houses up. Each project that we engage in, we're always lifting a house up, whether we're taking out a wall, putting in a beam, replacing sill plates. We do hydraulic lifting on every job. That's one of our specialties.
Having that engineering background makes it really interesting that you're doing this, because you've got knowledge that a lot of people probably wouldn't have with that background in carpentry. And then the engineering background. That makes you kind of uniquely qualified to look at the structure of a house.
A little bit, yeah. It's been a real benefit. It's been a real benefit to me.
So if a homeowner is having a problem with the structure themselves, let's talk about some things that might pop up. When do you know as a homeowner that we'll talk about repair? Mm-hmm. If you're a homeowner, when do you know that you have a structural issue or somebody needs to take a look at it? What are some telltale signs?
I'd say the two most common, people notice drywall cracking on the exterior or the interior wall of their home, and usually that means there's some kind of movement going on.
Okay.
The other one is going to be sloping floors, and people notice their floors are sloping, or as they walk toward the outside, they're going down. Or another common one, they see a separation between the floor and the baseboard. You'll see a gap open up between the floor, between let's say the hardwood or carpet, and the baseboard on the wall. The baseboard remains stationary, but the floor is falling away. Well, this is usually an indication that there's been water intrusion, and the water has rotted the end of the joists, and the joists are starting to fail. That's very common. We see the same thing happen in bathrooms where you have a plumbing leak. Let's say your toilet or tub is leaking, and over time, it's going to be rotting the floor and the floor joists in that bathroom. So whether it's cracked drywall or a slope in the floor, or you see sawdust in the basement where there shouldn't be, and it might be an indication of termite damage. So usually the indications are always visible, or you're walking across a floor, you can feel yourself going down or going up.
The best thing to do is, if you're having any of those issues, don't ignore them, right? Because they're not going to get better.
Yeah.
They're not going to get better.
That's right. This is a real enemy of homes, is neglect. You should, as soon as you see these issues, call if you bring this to our attention, and we can diagnose and repair them before they get worse. That's ideal.
Yeah, because you don't want to be dealing with that when it becomes a really bad problem. And water is a huge part of that, isn't it, Mark?
Water's number one enemy in a home.
Yeah, water against wood, water wins.
Water, yes. Unfortunately, water is going to win every time. That's right.
We're talking with Mark Hauptman with American Beam and Steel. You can call him at 708-212-6202. And you'd love to come to their house, wouldn't you?
I'm happy to.
You bet.
Absolutely.
And you can check out their website, which I always recommend you do. Good information on there at abeamsteel.com. So if you have an issue going on, and you did a great job of talking about that, things to watch for. Let's say that you decide you're going to change your structure. You're going to knock down walls, going to do an addition, all of those types of things. What are the important things to know when it comes to the structure of your house when you're looking at, hey, I'm going to tear that wall out. Hey, I'm going to make an addition. What are some things that you need to take a look at besides your person telling them how they're going to decorate it? I mean, you got to start the foundation, and people go straight to how it's going to look, and they forget about the bones. So tell us, things that you really need to consider if you're looking at a project.
That's a good question. You should. It would be great if you understand what a bearing wall is, and that's easy to determine. The bearing walls generally run perpendicular to the direction of the floor joist, perpendicular to the direction of the ceiling joist. But before you proceed with knocking walls down, you would consult with either us or a structural engineer. If you have an engineer or architect who's drawn up a plan, they're going to determine what walls are bearing walls. And if you're going to take out, let's say, a 16-foot section of wall, he might prescribe a steel beam or a glue lam or LVL beam to take its place.
Yeah, and it's really important to do that, especially if you're looking at, like the first and second floor.
That's right.
Because that's where, you've got the weight of the house coming down.
That is something that's very important, that only the engineers or architects can help you determine beam sizing because they do load calculations. So if it's a one-story house, it's a different load calculation than a two-story house, obviously. Bear in mind that in a bearing wall, a standard bearing wall running down the center of the house, not only it's holding the weight of the wall, the weight of the floor above it, but the weight of the roof above it. That's the most significant loading is from the roof. It's not your possessions. It's not your refrigerator or your dresser. It's a snow load on your roof.
And to figure out that load-bearing wall, this is a question I get from a lot of people. They go, okay, how do you do it? And I tell them, what you said. But then they'll say, well, doesn't that wall run from one end of the house to the other if it's load-bearing wall? Because they're in their brain, they're thinking, okay, it's a wall that goes from one side to the other. But I don't see a wall going from one side to the other.
Well, that's true. Because, for example, back to that example of a ranch, a three-step ranch, you have a wall between your kitchen and your living room, but then across that dining room area, there's a header. That header might be in construction or it might be below the ceiling. So you're going to see a header creating an opening, which is doing the same work as a bearing wall.
Yep. And a big thing now is, well, I've heard lately that they're moving away from it, but the open floor plans.
That's huge.
It's been a huge thing. I saw some information on, people are starting to go away from it a little bit, but still there's so much of it there. How important is it if you're looking at doing that? Obviously, you want to have an engineer, but as a person, you really have to take into account the structure in order to pull off, an open floor plan, especially if you're looking at renovation. Because a lot of people when the open floor plans are happening, they're starting to tear walls out.
Yes, you have to take a breath. We work with probably half a dozen local engineers that are all very, very well qualified. And if we need the services of an engineer to determine the load capacity of a wall and therefore the beam capacity that we need to replace it, we would bring in an engineer. He would do the math, and he would prescribe the sizing of the beam to go in its place. Mm-hmm. Super important.
Yep. So if you're looking at renovations, like tearing out a wall or maybe repair, when you see that you have issues with sloping, the whole crack in the drywall, a lot of people, it's like, okay, let's just go over it. Well, guess what? It's going to come back.
Yeah, it's coming back. Yes.
It's coming back because it's part of that. So you got to figure out what the issue and what is causing that, because you can't just do it from a superficial point of view. Now, Mark, if somebody has, first of all, there aren't a lot of people that do exactly what you do in Chicagoland, are there?
No, there's only a handful of firms that really do structural repair consistently every day.
Yeah.
Part of what we do is we end up fixing what another contractor has done. This morning, I had an appointment at 9 o'clock, and we were looking at another contractor's work. The truth is, what he did was what we would call an inexpert repair. So this person went to the Home Depot, picked up some lumber, nailed it up against the beam. It wasn't properly done. They really didn't fix the problem, so that homeowner kind of wasted the time and energy with that other contractor because he's not a specialty contractor. What we do is, it is a specialty trade.
Yeah.
And that's why there's only a handful of people that do that in the Chicagoland area.
All right. If you need his services, call him up. 708-212-6202. abeamsteel.com. Mark Hopman with American Beam and Steel. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Roger.
It's Home Answers on AM 560, The Answer.
Your go